lift you from all your fear. You will hear my voice, I claim you as my choice. Be still and know I am near. I am hope for all who are hopeless. I am eyes for all who long to see. In the shadows of the night, I will be your light. Come and rest in me. Do not be afraid, I am with you. I have called you each by name. Come and follow me, I will bring you home. I love you and you are mine. I am strength for all the despairing, healing for the ones who dwell in shame. All the blind will see, the lame will all run free, and all will know my name. Do not be afraid, I am with you. I have called you each by name. Come and follow me, I will bring you home. I love you and you are mine. I am the word that leads all to freedom. I am the peace the world cannot give. I will call your name, embracing all your pain. Stand up now, walk and live. Do not be afraid, I am with you. I have called you each by name. Come and follow me, I will bring you home. I love you and you are mine. I love you and you are mine.
Hello and good morning. Welcome to another episode of Catholics at Home, brought to you by the Catholic Research Centre in Kuala Lumpur. My name is Kachang Kevin, and usually we have a Saturday live show, but we have a very special guest today, which we had a chance to, the opportunity to chat with a couple of days ago, and so we decided to put that recording, that show on in place of our live show today. So, who is that very special guest? Well, he's a missionary priest with the community of St. Paul the Apostle in Kenya, I believe, yes, in Africa. And he's going to share with us his vocation story and his calling, and also, of course, his missionary work. So we're going to have all access with Fr Francis Teo. But before I bring on Fr Francis, let me welcome Fr Clarence Devadas. Hello, Father.
Hi, Kevin. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Father. How are you doing?
I'm okay, Kevin. We have missed you for quite a bit. And suddenly you have this kind of change in your face. You look 10 years
I
younger.
decided to give myself a shave and, looking younger. Maybe I should shave a little bit for that. And we will just let the viewers know that I am just 21.
So finally, you found the courage to go to a barber.
Yes, the confidence to see him in the Darth Vader, all the mask and everything prepared, and I felt very reassured there. Just make sure you change the blades whenever he shaved me. Now, Father Clarence, besides your work with the Catholic Research Center in Kuala Lumpur, of course, you do some missionary work, the diocese. How about overseas? Did you have much experience doing missionary work in overseas? Maybe in Africa, just like Father Francis?
No, not in Africa, Kevin. Well, when I was a student in Rome, I helped out in one or two parishes, occasionally for special occasions. When they needed a priest, I'd gone to celebrate Mass. Then 1 year, 3 years ago, I spent a year in the UK, but living in a parish while doing some research work. So I also had to involve in the parish life, but not Africa. Yeah, not Africa. So Italy, in the UK, and Malaysia, of course. I mean, every opportunity, every ministry is a mission by itself. So yeah. So I do some missionary work. If you consider this as a mission, I mean, I go every Sunday to a small town known as Kuala Baru. It's the last parish in north of the Archdiocese, 60 kilometers. So if you consider that as mission, yes, I'm a missionary in that spot. But I don't have to take boats. I don't have to travel on camels or horses. I still drive my car.
Yes. Yes, and of course, it doesn't matter where you are, wherever you do mission, there's a lot of stories to tell, I'm sure, which we'll try and get out from Father Francis today. Father Francis Teo.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning,
Father.
everyone.
Good morning. Thank you for being on our show. We're certainly honored to have you with us here today. And we're going to have a lot to talk. 1 hour is enough, but we'll try and get as much as possible.
Right.
So, how are you feeling? How are you feeling today, Father Francis?
I'm okay. It's just I've been back to see to some medical stuff, and with age, a lot of things come up. But anyway, I'm really glad that for this chance, for this opportunity to appear on Catholics at Home, the podcast. I had never heard of it. This was my first time, and through Mark and other friends, they spoke to me about it, and I thought, well, fine, let's see what happens, So thank you, Father Clarence. Thank you, Kevin, for this chance to be here.
Pleasure to have you here.
Yep. Good.
Thank you. Now, Father Francis, before we talk about your vocation and your mission, maybe let's start back. You were born in Malaysia. Tell us about where you were born and your life growing up here in Malaysia.
Okay, I was born in Malacca, in the Banda Hile, that was my hometown, and long time ago, yeah. And then my father, he was in the government service, so we moved around a lot. Malacca to Kuantan to KL, Taiping, Penang, and then eventually they moved to Johor Bahru, and that is where my mother, she has been living since, for many years. Johor Bahru, that's her base now. My father has since passed on. I myself, I grew up throughout all these places as a young boy. Every few years, you make good friends, and then after that, you have to say goodbye, and then you start all over again. It was like truly, when I think about it, it was like a nomadic lifestyle. And so when I was in Penang, that was when an opportunity came for me to get a scholarship in order to go to study in Singapore. And that was what I thought, wow, great, going to another country. Yeah. So I was very happy to do that. My elder brother and I, we got that scholarship. But my elder brother chickened out in the last day. And I said, no, I want to go, and I left. So at 14 years, I left my parents' home in order to go to live in Singapore and to study there at St. Joseph's Institution. Throughout, I have been with the De La Salle brothers, all through. So there it was, and then I spent 8 years of my life in Singapore. And then, so that's how the story But Singapore, those years there, I think those were important years for me. Those were the years that many things developed and changed me.
Is
And
it
what
is
what
it there?
era?
Sorry, is it there when you were with the brothers and in St. Joseph's? Is that where the seeds of vocation were planted for you?
Not really, Father
Okay.
Clarence. Not really. I I never thought about being a priest. I never thought about vocation. Actually, I was not quite the perfect guy, the perfect student, you know. and and I mean, it was. I enjoyed studying. I was responsible and all that, but I never thought about being a priest. So what did teach me at all those schools at St. Thomas, St. John's, St. Xavier, St. George's, St. Joseph's. I think it taught me how to live certain Christian values. I think that's really important. Those Christian values, and I thank God for them. I mean, those things helped. And I think one of the important values was the feeling of compassion, no? To feel sorry, really sorry for somebody else who is in greater need. Yeah. So I think in that sense, yes, it led to a certain, it led me, gave an opening towards my vocation as a priest, as a missionary priest, eventually.
Now, Father Francis, just to go back a little bit, you said you didn't have an intention to become a priest at that time. Just want to know, what were your ambitions during that time? What did you want to become?
When I was in primary school, honestly, I didn't know what I wanted to be. I just thought, let me just pass every exam that I could, And my dad was a strict person. He wanted results, good results. So my concern was to do well. Okay, and then when I went to Singapore secondary school, I didn't really think much. I thought of medicine. When I went to junior college, in Singapore they have what they call the junior college at A levels. Yeah. I did think of medicine as well, and I could qualify. So when the results came out and I had to make a choice to enter NUS, I had a choice, either medicine or law. I chose law because I thought that was where all the more beautiful girls were found. Yeah. So I went to law then. So I was in law school for the 2 years, and at first I enjoyed it, but I remember every holiday during the breaks, I would save money during the year and then to go for a holiday. So one year, the first year, I went with some friends across Europe, from Turkey to Ireland, hitchhiking. That really opened my mind to many things. I saw the world was a huge thing. I mean, it was just the cultures, the people, all kinds of people, good people, bad people, wonderful people. I saw the church in so many forms. And I was I think I was 20, 21 at that time. And that really moved me, right? And then the following year, I decided again in the holidays to go somewhere else. This time I chose to go to Pakistan, to the Northwest Frontier Province. And there I went alone. And it was a very rough journey through the Karakoram Highway and all that. And those journeys, I mean, I didn't have much money. It was all, really, I was hitchhiking and living off bread and milk and things like that. But I mean, when I look back now, I guess those years I was searching for something. Yeah? I was searching for something. And then when I got back, I remember when I got back from those journeys, I couldn't stay within four walls, in a room within four walls. I felt a terrible depression to be within that. I felt asphyxiated, and I felt like there was something else that was calling me out. All right. So I was in law school, second year law. By that time, you can be sure I had lost all interest in law studies. We would all be in the library, all my classmates, and they were all, we were all on scholarship. We We were all in the library. They were reading the law books. I was looking at the atlases and the maps of Africa. Yeah. So the exams, second year law exams came. I failed impressively, right? And I, but when I come to think of it, I lost, I think, one night's sleep thinking about what was I going to do now. Everyone was coming to me and offering condolences. I said, "Oh, that's fine. I'm leaving the university." So I left and I began to work for 1 year to earn enough money because I thought that I wanted to go to Africa. To go to Africa, not to be a priest, not to be a missionary. That was the last thing down the line, what I wanted to do with my life. I wanted to travel. I wanted to see Africa, to do something, to serve 6 months, work, teach in a school, and move from Egypt down to South Africa, go to West Africa, cross the Sahara Desert, end up in Europe, study journalism. That was what I wanted to do, journalism. Yeah. But as Saint Teresa of Avila, Saint Teresa of Jesus says, God writes straight, but in crooked lines. Yeah, and I think that's what happened. And so I started in Kenya, and before that I had friends of mine who were in the Royal College of Surgeons in Ireland, and they got me a list of different missions. So they sent me the list of 23 missions all over Africa. I thought there was just so few Catholic missions. Later on, years later, I found that the Catholic Church is present in every corner of the continent. So I wrote to these 23 missions. I was sure that they would be ready to welcome somebody to teach English from Singapore, Malaysia. My goodness, who wouldn't? No one did. Okay? Except an old bishop, an Irishman, old Bishop John Mahan, from the Diocese of Lodwar in a part of Kenya, in the northern part of Kenya called Turkana, Turkana. I looked it up in that Collins Atlas that my father had in his house. I looked up map of Kenya, and I couldn't see Turkana anywhere. I couldn't find Lodwar town anywhere. So I said, this must be the place where I should go. Yeah. So I saved up. I worked teaching, saved up money to do it because my dad, he opposed the idea, being he really opposed the idea, and he thought that it was a crazy thing, and he said if you wanted to go, then not at my expense. So I went on ahead with it and saved the money, and I left in September 1987, right? And I reached Kenya in December 1987. And I remember standing outside on the outskirts of Nairobi city by the museum. At that time, it was considered the outskirts. Today, it's well inside the metropolis. And I was hitchhiking, begging for a lift to go up to this place called Turkana. And people thought I was crazy. It was about 1,000 kilometers away. I eventually did make my way there after 3-4 days. And I remember entering Turkana. Now, Turkana, like all of northern Kenya, is a semi-arid area, almost like a desert with scrub trees and thorn trees, right? Bushes. And the people there are nomadic shepherds. Right? So at that time, there was a great famine. I think some of you may, Father Clarence, you may know, that famine, that famous famine in Ethiopia in the 80s. Yeah? We Are the World and all that. No, Bob Geldof. Yeah, it was all part of that situation, yeah? That milieu. So, so there was a lorry that was bringing food, sacks of food up towards Lodwar. I got a ride. I sat on top of all those sacks of food. And in front of me was a traditional Turkana family. The man had a cap with feathers and a blanket and nothing else. The woman had a skirt made from goat skin and nothing else. And the child They were holding, they were with a child there, their child that was just there. And I looked around and saw the desert, semi-arid land, family there. They looked at me. I must have been the strangest animal they had ever seen. And I felt free. I felt totally free. And I felt that God was opening a path for me somewhere. Yeah? So that was how I entered into Turkana. That's northern Kenya. Then, of course, I went to see the bishop, Bishop Mahan. Poor Bishop Mahan almost got a shock of his life when he saw me. He didn't expect to find somebody from Malaysia coming all the way out there, So he said, well, okay, you could go to a mission up north, one of those remote missions where you get a vehicle passing by once a week. So I went up there and on the lorry also delivering food. And there I met Cecilia. She was a Spanish nurse. And she was the first member of the missionary community of St. Paul the Apostle that I met. Okay? You see, our community, we are a public association and we have clerics and also lay women. Okay? So Cecilia was a nurse and she was running the dispensary there in that remote mission. So that was my first contact with the missionary community of St. Paul the Apostle. Okay? And I think I had many conversations with her, and she explained. They explained to me many things about leaving everything behind, following Christ, doing good, helping others, and that I think planted the seed of a vocation in me. And then a few months later, Father Francisco, or he preferred to be called just Paco, all right? He was the founder, the one who started everything, and he came to visit the community there. And that was my first contact with him. And in this man, Paco, the Gospels came alive. Many things came alive. And I began to realize, to see what it was to live as a family and to leave everything behind, to share dreams and to try to make this world into a garden, literally. And I guess through him, I began to understand what it was to be a priest and a missionary. Okay? And that must have been the way, I think that was how my vocation began to grow. It didn't come overnight. I didn't hear a voice speaking to me in my dreams. It was through concrete persons that told me and asked me, have you ever thought about doing this?
Very powerful story. Yeah? Usually we hear, people joining religious associations or congregations and then being sent out on mission to different countries. Your story is quite different. You had this intention of being a missionary, a lay missionary. Then only later that the whole idea of vocation to priesthood came about. What would you attribute it to? I mean, this idea of being a missionary, of leaving, is it the experience of traveling and seeing people, or is something that started in your family for yourself, that you wanted to leave everything and go to somewhere else? I mean, you started off just wanting to teach English, that's all. What would you attribute it to?
I think I've thought about that very much, and often I speak about this also, Father Clarence. One, I think there has to be an unquietness in us, from the Spanish word inquietud, unquietness, where you're not satisfied with everything. There's something missing. Like the song from U2, it says, I'm still searching. I haven't found what I'm looking for. Yeah, that unquietness. That's I think the one very important element, because that unquietness is what makes us seek for some meaning, make us seek for some more fulfillment. Okay? And then the second thing would be disenchantment with what I have around me, not being satisfied. I mean, just saying that it doesn't mean so much. I mean, yeah, a car, yeah, so what? Profession, yeah, so what? I mean, that disenchantment, no? And so the two things combined, I think, were very powerful waves that help. Especially in my case, maybe different persons have different things, but in my case, they were very powerful waves in helping me, in driving me towards this vocation to be a priest and a missionary in Africa. Yep.
Father Francis, what were your impressions? As you said, you went to Turana, which a place that you couldn't find on the map also. When you finally arrived there, looking at that place, what went through your mind? I mean, here in this part of the world, I mean, we have certain level of comfort, yeah. I mean, a roof over our heads, a bed, but you're going to a place you don't know anything. You've not even seen it on the map, probably not even on National Geographic. What were your first impressions when you arrived there after that, making that 3-day journey from Nairobi?
My first impression, well, the first person that impressed me was actually the bishop himself, the old Bishop John Mahan, very dear bishop. He was dressed in his boots, his shorts, and when he was going out to work, he would remove his episcopal ring, keep it in the drawer, and he was a Mason. He was a canon lawyer and a Mason. And a man that I saw, it impressed me how he was going around in his 4-wheel drive with bags of cement, building material, and children around behind him and delivering things at the different places. He built dispensaries, churches, convents, schools. He built it, all that. And I think that for me was one of the biggest, he caused a great impression. In Luke chapter 4, when it says, where Jesus quotes Isaiah and saying that the Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he has anointed me to proclaim the good news to the poor, I thought, yeah, this man, Bishop Mahan, he did that literally, all right? He did that literally. He fed the hungry, he educated the downtrodden, he gave work to those who were bowed down. He built a hospital to cure the sick, a school for the blind, another one for the deaf. I learned from this old bishop that the Gospels were not just mere words. Action was needed as well. Okay, so for me, that was a very great impression. And it was one person, and I think another person, more than places or people, I would say persons that really impressed me was, as I said, Father Francisco, or Paco himself. I mean, Paco, he was a man, he was very demanding, being Spanish, he was very demanding. And he used to teach us to always catch the bull by the horns, And there was a very important lesson that I learned from him. Right? He was never indifferent to the needs and suffering of people around. He moved all those around him to find solutions to the situations of needs of those around. So we as young men, we had to find solutions. We had to find how to help this lady, how to get food for the child. We had to do all those things. Right? And he constantly, all the time, called people, no matter where they were from, what background they were from, to leave everything behind and to follow a life of service. Men, women. And I was included in that invitation, which he made so passionately and intensely, such that I couldn't say no. But it was an invitation, I suppose, that matured and grew more profoundly with time, and seeing everything. So So these are two persons that really influence my vocation. They helped me, and then years later, after I was ordained as a young priest, I was asked to, when Bishop Mahan passed away, the old bishop passed away, I was asked to be the one to organize the whole funeral. And I was really moved as a young priest to see thousands of tribal people who had walked for days from all around the diocese. It's a huge diocese, 77,000 square kilometers, walked all over, come to say goodbye to this man who did so much for them, who really gave them his life. And I was impressed. I was really impressed to see this. And that really, as a young priest, it really moved me to say that, my God, how much we can do, how much we must do, how much need, and how much lives we can change and affect. So that really, that marked a very big change for me.
Now, Father Francis, originally you went there to join the mission, to do missionary work. What was the point or was there any moment that pointed you to become a priest? When did you decide that you wanted to join the priesthood?
Now, don't laugh, yeah. Father Paco, he wanted me to be a priest. Obviously, he was all the time calling me, asking me, and all the time I was evading answering him. Until one day he just said, "Do you want to be a priest or not?" And I said, "Okay." That was how it was. And when I said, "Oh, yes," I meant it with all my heart, with all my soul, and I wasn't so sure of how things would go, but I saw with my own eyes what a good priest was, how a good priest was, how a good bishop was. I saw all those things, and I thought, yes, that's the challenge for me. And so this August 15th, it will be 23 years for me as a priest, right? My anniversary, August 15th. And Clarence and Kevin, there have been many difficult moments, okay? And especially in the missions, in our missions there in northern Kenya. There have been many difficult situations. I've been in between shootings and all kinds of threats and everything. There have been a lot of problems and difficulties, and they continue to be. But I say it honestly and with all my heart that there has never been one second when I regretted this decision.
And throughout all this time, were your parents able to follow your journey and know about your decision to become a priest?
Times were different. At those times, there was no such thing as email, mobile phones, and all that. It was all slow mail. Yeah. If they wanted to write me a letter, they would have to send it post restans. I don't know if these things exist. They post restan. To Francis Teo, Nairobi Post Office, post restans. They keep the post. Then months later, I would pass by and then I would collect it. That was how it was. Phone calls were very expensive. We couldn't afford it. And but before I left Johor Bahru, I bought a map of Africa. I remember I framed it beautifully. I hung it there on the wall so that I said, at least you would be able to follow where I was going. And I gave away all the things I had. The few things I considered important for my life, it's so important to me, I kept in a carton box. I left it in my parents' house. And today, 34 years later, that box is still there. I never saw the need to open it up. And, some things we see so important at one time, later doesn't seem important anymore. So anyway, then I went there and then after meeting Father Paco and then after deciding, yes, I would like to be a priest, course, I came back to Malaysia, right? And, told my dad that I would wanted to be a priest. I was shocked. Priest, my goodness. He didn't want me. He wasn't so sure about that. When I told him I wanted to be a priest in Africa, my poor dad almost fell down. And yeah, but I pushed on with it, and I said that was what I wanted. And I realized later that my father's concern was if his son was uncertain about the decision, then he would oppose it. But if his son was certain about what I wanted to do, I think he was okay with it. Okay, that's the fear in many parents, the uncertainty in the decisions of their children. And after I was ordained in 1997, I think about 2 years later, my dad, he couldn't come for my ordination. Both my parents, I was ordained in Kenya. They couldn't come because my dad was with cancer, a bone cancer, and it was getting worse and worse. And I remember my sister called. It was in 1999, July. She called and said, "Look, Francis, Daddy is very bad, and can you come back?" And me being me, I said, "Nah, I think it's okay. Let's just still wait." But Paco was the one who came down very hard on me, and he said, "Drop everything and go back now. Look after your dad." So I did that out of obedience. I'm glad I did it. I spent time with my dad in the hospital here in Kuala Lumpur. And one night, I remember I was there lying in the hospital with him, and he stood up. It was bone cancer. It was very painful. And then he shuffled to the mirror on the wall. He looked at himself there, and I was just sleeping and just looking at him. And then I asked him, I said, "Pa, are you all right?" And then he walked back to the bed, and he didn't say anything. And then he just looked at me and he said, if I had to, he said, if I had to start my life all over again, I would be a priest like you. I was very surprised. I was moved. I didn't know what to say. All I remember saying is, I muttered, I said, "If you did, I won't exist." Yeah. And then, and then he said that it is only when I have reached at the end of my life that I see that everything that I have done is in vain, except the good that I have done. That's the only thing that matters. Everything else is in vain. And so he said that if I had to start my life again, yeah, I would be a priest like you. And for me, that was a confirmation that my dad was happy that his son had become a priest, a missionary in Kenya. And many other stories that I heard later, that in Johor Bahru, when my father would come across an African immigrant, a Nigerian, he would be so eager to go to buy food for him and take him and help the poor African person here or there. And that, and he would tell them, the people would ask, "Uncle, why are you doing this?" It's just because my son is in Africa and your people are so good to him, and I want to do the same, things like that. That really moved me. When he passed away, yesterday was the 21st anniversary of his death. It was my first funeral ever as a priest. And that really had a great effect on me. Yeah? Talking too much.
No, talking a little bit about about life and mission and ministry in Africa. No, you are ordained a diocesan priest, but you belong to a public association. What is ministry like for a diocesan priest? I mean, in where you are, I'm sure it's very different from what it is here. What is
Yes.
a daily life like for a diocesan priest where you are?
All right. You see, our our diocese in Kenya and many other dioceses where our missionaries are working, these are usually very remote dioceses and very poor dioceses. Poverty is endemic. As the old bishop used to say, hunger is the constant companion of the people. Okay? So our work in our missions revolved around production, how to produce food, to grow, to cultivate, to look for water, to drill water, to build dams, how to improve the herds. Okay? That was a very great part of our work. Of course, we had to do also the pastoral care of the people. Right? But if we wanted to baptize people, so many would just want to be baptized because you get food, you get whatever, those kind of things. And we didn't want it that way. Okay, we want people to come to Jesus because they really find meaning in that. And so that's why our missions, they grew up as centers of agriculture, centers where there was water, education, and people, when their lives were better, then they could make a better choice of following God, of following Jesus Christ. Okay? Make a better choice. And so our work there comprises, I mean, the daily life would be, we would in the morning we'd have to see to the projects around, check on the construction of the dam, see the nutritional unit, the school, how is it going, the children, do they have food? Has food been stolen, or there's still food there for the kids? And then you have to check on the cars, the tractor is broken, maybe try to get that thing repaired. And then after that, go to have a meeting with the catechists, see how things were doing and all, and so it's very different. In different missions, there were different issues to deal with. In one of my first parishes, it was on the border between Kenya and Ethiopia, and we had to deal with tribal conflicts between the Turana people from Kenya and the Dasanich people from Ethiopia. That was really hard. I mean, we one side considered us as spies, and the other side thought of us also as spies. I mean, it was terrible. But in the end, we managed to bring peace. We did. We managed to bring peace between the two sides. That was good. Okay? And then for like 6 years, I was also appointed the Vicar General of the diocese. And there again, the work was very different. I mean, the Curia of the diocese had its water department, women's department, health department, nomadic department, a pastoral department. That was how we were run. We were organized because the presence of the government at the time there was not so great. Today it's changed. The church was so involved in human development, especially in times of emergency, when there was famine, and there would be every 5-7 years a cycle of famine. Okay? And we didn't have rains. By the way, what you get here in one day, that thunderstorm you get here, you get that in 1 year, that amount of rainfall. Okay? So you can imagine it's dry. Food security is a real problem. So we have to find ways and means to see how the people's lives can be improved. And then at the same time to reach out. Even as I said, as Vicar General, I enjoyed Saturdays. Saturdays, we would go out to a different small Christian community. These are the BECs. And we would do home blessings, to bless the homes. Now the homes are not the homes that you have here. Those are huts made from branches that look like igloos. So you have to bend down to go in and sprinkle around the small little hut, come out, and then you go to the little pen where they have the goats and the sheep, and you bless all that, bless the surrounding. Some families they would even have their own brewery. You bless all that, and then you move on. The family will join in. Then it goes as a big procession to the end of about 50, 70 homes. Then we would have a mass, baptism of infants. Sometimes you would have 30, 40 baptisms of infants. And really, we talk of big numbers of people, being baptized, and the faith is something that is growing. I mean, people are very, very open and receptive to the Catholic Church. When I went to Turkana in 1987, it was less than 10% of the population were Catholic. Today, I think the statistics show that maybe around 25 to 30% of the population are Catholic. Okay? So it has changed. It has changed, and the church has really done a lot to improve the whole economy and the whole life in the area.
So in terms of missionaries who are there, Father, I mean, are there many foreign missionaries, or the diocese is able to provide clergy? I mean, are the vocations growing among young people there?
When our missionary community of St. Paul the Apostle, when we started, of course, we were foreigners. I mean, not most of us were from Spain, from other countries. Today, we have more Kenyans among us, from Ethiopia, from Malawi. We have people from different countries, okay, more mixed. I'm still the only one from Malaysia, fortunately, yeah. But we have some others who have joined us from other countries in Asia, but also the church too. The church has grown and it has become more indigenous. The present bishop is a Kenyan and very capable. Bishop Dominic, very capable person, and he's doing good work. And although now he has been made bishop of another diocese, so he is just the administrator. So he's actually a sede vacante in a sense. Yeah, but yeah. So that's how the our daily life is. And for us, the missionary community of St. Paul the Apostle, one of the main things that we do is water resource development, drilling boreholes, building dams. I mean, I knew next to nothing to build dams, but we had to learn all those things, how to make walls and where to do them, and to trap water and earth dams and things like that. And yeah, it's been a learning experience. But anyway, that's
so it looks like from a career destined in law, God has transformed you into being his engineer now.
Well, I went out to study canon law actually. And so that is what took me to Manila, okay, 2012.
Okay.
And so in Manila, I went to study canon law at the UST, University of Santo Tomas, and but it was also our intention to set up a formation house in Asia. Okay, so that is our formation house in Manila, and we have our students in theology who are there. Some are in philosophy, and then also the young men from around the region who are discerning their vocation. They come there, and we are able to spend time with them and see if this is their life. So that's how we are trying to develop that. And of course, being in Manila helps us also to do a lot of vocation promotion work and missionary animation work, to talk about missions, to raise the awareness of missions. Okay, because many people think, oh, the missionary work of the church, that's gone 100 years ago, finished. No, it's not. It's very much alive, very much there. Even here in Malaysia too. I mean, we have to, and it's to encourage young people, encourage parish groups to be mission oriented, to look out. If we don't look out, we're not going to go anywhere. If it's just inside, it's just what I need, what I am, and I'm fine. That's what I said about that disenchantment and the unquietness. Those are two very important factors. And I think it is so much in line with the Gospels. Okay, to want to go out, right? So anyway.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that during the missionary year, that we talked about. Pope Francis has always been saying, it's not just enough to be a disciple of Jesus, but to be a missionary disciple of Jesus. And I think you put it that, it's not just all about ourselves, but it's about going out. Well, I guess, mission begins at home, isn't it? In many ways, that's where it all starts.
Yes.
For most people, some
Yes.
people think mission. Some people stay away from mission because they think mission is like you going away to a distant land. So they kind of, pull back. And I think it's quite important that you also brought it up, that mission also is wherever you are, wherever God plants you. That's your mission.
Yes.
In many ways.
Certainly. I mean, even here, but I think we have to know that very clearly, that mission is to bring the good news of Jesus Christ, no? And this good news of Jesus Christ can be so many things to the elderly couple living down the road that nobody pays attention to them. I mean, you can imagine what the good news is to them.
Yeah.
The good news to a mother who has to see her child die from a simple diarrhea in Sabah. You can imagine what the good news is for her, right? So this is the kind of good news we need to bring to people, and I think that's perfectly within the hands and possibilities of so many people here, so many, young and old, so many, right? And so I think it's good to and one thing leads to another. Even in our experience in our community, our experience was that when the group started in Spain, they began to look after gypsy children. And from there, it expanded, and they looked on, and they went out to Africa. And so really, yeah, maybe charity begins at home, but the truth is also that charity knows no boundaries, right? So God calls us wherever and in however ways.
Well, especially in this time when we have this COVID-19 and we cannot travel abroad and stuff like that, of course, we have to look at our nearest surroundings if we want to do missionary work. But Father Francis, what would you tell someone who's watching this right now, who's had some sort of desire to do missionary work? What advice can you give them to take another step forward?
Now it took me a long time to find a way to go to Africa. I mean, that I must say, it's not so easy. When I was I had to go knocking different places in Singapore, trying to see how and where, and in the end, like I said, I got the list of addresses, I wrote, and I went. Okay, I think there are different in different countries. I don't know here in Malaysia, but there may be mission officers. There may be different groups that do give the opportunity for people to visit. Ourselves, we too, we have received visitors from Malaysia, from Singapore, from Indonesia, from Philippines, from Europe, from every year we get people coming to visit and to spend some time with us, 1 month, 2 weeks, things like that. So those who can more time, they spend more time, and they may not be able to do much, but the very fact that they are there and they see and they get to know another culture and to see how the church, life of the church in a place like in Africa, I tell you, it will blow you off. I mean, just to see how people live their faith, how they worship, how people walk for hours. They reach the church covered in dust, and then they begin to dance, and it's a joyful celebration, and you really you feel that power. That people really appreciate that whole idea of wanting to worship God. But anyway, the point is this: that they will have to do some homework. They need to look and see how people, what channels are there, how, I don't know, mission office somewhere. I'm not sure how it is like here in Malaysia, but or even through some congregations, they may have openings for lay volunteers, people like that. And then it may not necessarily be to Africa. I mean, it could be nearby too, around too. All right, and I mean, I did quite a bit of work in Indonesia too, looking for doing vocation promotion work, and I've seen bishops there who welcome young people to from other countries to spend time to help and to teach English in the school, yeah, the seminary, and so many, there are ways people need to move, find out, go, and I'm ready to help, to see where and how to give advice. I am ready to do that. I'll leave my contact, I don't know, WhatsApp or something like that, and people could, those who are interested could contact me.
Yeah. Well, Father Francis, I would like you to touch on just one more topic, because when you said that you left everything behind, you just had that carton of your personal belongings, something very memorable or something that is very important to you. I think that's very admirable, and I think it's hard for most people, especially in this time right now. More than ever, it's such a materialistic world. How do we leave behind our that sense of leaving behind everything and just going forward? We hear this in the Bible, of course. I can't quote scripture, but I just find it hard to envision. I mean, admiration of all those people who just left behind everything and gone forward to serve. But for most of us, I think that is also quite a struggle. Can you talk a bit about that, and what can you say to us?
Oof. I remember, during that time when I was in turmoil. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life, where, what, how, anything. I came across a book, a very simple book, on the life of St. Francis of Assisi, and I think that book helped me to know how to let go of some things. The life of St. Francis. I mean, that was something that really it moved me, and it gave me the courage to say that, yeah, some things I won't need, and it's hard. It's a difficult question you ask, because it's true. I mean, it depends on each one of us, but I think we can live without things, and maybe the essentials we say we carry with us, and that's it. But very often we add on many things in our lives that complicate things and make us want more. And perhaps we could be more minimalistic and try to see what we can do, how we can do with less. And even if we did have things, what we have, we ought to use that in order to help others. Okay? Use it for good. Use it for good. And I suppose that's where the freedom to do good comes in. And it's a freedom that is in here. I'm free to do good. So I don't know. It's really, I think sometimes maybe it's God's grace that has to touch our hearts. Say, get ready to let go of things. That's what I would really say. And
Father Clarence, anything to add?
Sorry.
Yeah, no, Kevin. I was just listening to Father Francis. I know it's not easy to let go. A lot of us carry a lot of things with us wherever we go, and I think sometimes that's what God calls us to shed and leaving behind things. As I was listening to Father Francis, it reminds me of the call of the first disciples, where they left their boat, they left their net, they left everything to follow Jesus. And that's the thought that was running through my mind as you said, leaving everything and going to a place that wasn't even on a map for a while, for you at least, but it has become a part of your life now. And I think, if you think that if there's something that this whole mission experience, being there, the people there, what lesson, what most important lesson would you take for yourself, Father Francis? I mean, what have the people taught you by being there? You've been there now 23 years, or even more than your
34 years.
Yeah, maybe one or two simple lessons that you have learned from them as much as they have learned from you.
Yeah, I think one of the, not just everywhere. I think it's not just in Africa, but also in the Philippines. The time there, I think one of the greatest lessons I've learned in this life with people who have little, marginalized, that I think is that spirit, that indomitable human spirit, okay, that strong spirit to survive, to improve, and to push on despite all the difficulties, all the odds. I mean, and they teach me not to take life and all that comes with it, okay, for granted. Okay, not to take it for granted. It made me, and it continues to make me question why some people have everything and some people have nothing at all. And I ask myself still, if we ask, so why? So what is clear also is that the amount of good that can be achieved, whether it's goodwill and hard work, when each one of us, we bring his or her, the 5 loaves and 2 fish that we heard in the gospel, yeah? A lot can be achieved when each of us, we bring our loaves and our fish and put them together, right? And there is no doubt about the deep and existential joy that we find in doing good for others. There is no doubt. I think, really.
So talking about the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, bringing each one bringing. We have seen pictures, and I've also heard from my friends while studying in Rome, how the celebration of the Eucharist is very animated.
In Africa, yeah.
In Africa. So would you like to tell us a little bit, describe a little bit about what is a celebration, a liturgical celebration like in the place that you come from?
All right, in Turana, the traditional way, I mean, let me describe to you that, for instance, the procession of the Blessed Sacrament, when we process the Blessed Sacrament, after communion and all that, right? And so when I carry the monstrance and move, all the traditional women dressed in their goat skin and the camel skin with their staff there, they dance. The dance is jumping and stomping their feet on the ground. Now the place is dry, dusty. So as they move, this is a cloud of dust that is there. So I'm ahead, I'm in front with the Blessed Sacrament, and the people are all behind. So it's like you see, all the movement jumping simultaneously, all the people, and the dust that comes up. I mean, it's so impressive, really. And then at some point, when I turn around and I face the people with the monstrance, everyone falls down to their knees, and it's amazing. You just see the dust, the cloud of dust. The Mass itself is very animated. If you celebrated Mass in 45 minutes like you do here, you get scolding by the people. Yeah? For being too short, we get scolding. So the Mass has to go on. I mean, sometimes 2 hours even, because there is a lot of singing, a lot of dancing. The Our Father alone, to sing the Our Father is about 10 minutes. Yeah? And then of course, there's the presentation of gifts. People they have little, but they give. They bring a few shillings that they may have. Well, shillings there, And then sometimes they may bring a piece of a watermelon, which they planted. Other times, a family may bring a goat, and so they present it. And when they bring it up for the offertory, they're dancing with it. Okay, they carrying the goat and dancing. Right? And it's very funny sometimes when the bishop comes, especially there are lots of goats that are presented to the bishop, and the poor bishop has to struggle with the goats receiving. But it's really very, I mean, really, and prayers for the faithful. It's not all prepared. I mean, it's open. People come up and they pray. So that's how they do it, and then the dancing. There's a lot of dancing, and the traditional Turkana way, like I said, is that you've seen the Maasai people, the way they jump, they dance. Well, that's how it is also. So they do that as post-communion, yes, Thanksgiving, we call it. They dance, and everyone, the whole church shakes. The whole church shakes. And of course, they pull the priest out to jump as well, to dance with them. So we're all dancing there, everything. And so, and then after that is finished, then silence. Everyone settles down, silence, So it's there's a time for euphoria and a time for quiet meditation. So it's I miss that. That's one thing I miss very much. The liturgical celebrations, or the Sunday celebrations in the mountains and in the villages, those remote places in Kenya. Nairobi and the cities, of course, is like here, right? Mass. If the priest finishes in 40 minutes, that's a good priest.
Those are wonderful stories. Fr Francis, earlier on when you first went to Turana in Africa, was it hard to learn the language and learn the culture?
Yes, it was. The language was difficult because it is a difficult language. But my best teachers were the children. They were the best, and I learned from them. I picked up the language very fast, and of course later on we, when I became the Vicar General, we organized classes for new missionaries and new priests, people from outside who were coming to work to undergo language courses and all that. So that helped. But for me, when I went there first, I had to learn that. I was 23 years old, and I had to learn the language and then to settle in, to get to know the culture and all that. It was not difficult. It was not difficult for me. I entered in nicely partly because of members of my community that I met before I joined, but still they kind of introduced me and helped me, and there is one great quality about being in Africa and Africans themselves. I think humanity, the humanity is returned. We come back to see humanity in its real self. And there's something I really appreciate. It's so easy for people to smile and say hello and good morning and greet and shake hands and everything. And, really, children, wherever you go, they have no qualms. They come to you, they hold you, and they touch your hair. It's really, humanity is returned, and that's very beautiful. It's very beautiful.
I'm going to put you in a little bit of a corner and ask you a question. You have lived in Malaysia. Now you serve and you have come back to Malaysia also to serve. What do you think that the church in Malaysia could learn from the church in Africa? If there's one thing that you think is important for us to learn.
No.
I know it's a difficult question, but something from your observations, something that maybe we could learn from them. Yeah.
I think it's very important to give an opportunity to the lay people to organize themselves. Now, in Africa, the church has grown by leaps and bounds because of the small Christian communities, or what you call here the BECs. These BECs are empowered. They're really empowered. They're given. They're given the opportunities, the support to really come together, to see to each other's needs, and not just to come together to eat roja and things like that. No, they come together to really see how they can support each other. A couple not married in church, how can we help them to get married in church? Things like that. The BECs, the small Christian communities, it's an amazing tool of evangelization for the parishes. Okay, and when I was rector of the cathedral, I used that to the greatest extent, and I found that truly helpful that people felt hard. They felt they were doing something, to the point where even their neighbors who were not Catholics, they were saying, "Wow, you really do something." You know, when the priests, when we were going to bless the homes and all that, the neighbors who were not Catholics would ask your minister to come bless our homes too. Even the Muslims, they were doing it. They come in and bless the homes, because they said that your priests go to your places. Ours, they don't come out. You know, and I think that's the other thing too. Okay, I think the priests, it's good for us to go out to the families, to go out to the homes. I remember going to the homes of, when we did this home blessings. It was not just blessing with water, but it was to get to know the families. You would go into a hut and you would see an old lady lying there for months because she was sick. So we would try to get things done. So the catechist would be with me, and the catechist would have to jot down, this home, this had to be done. This one here, there was a child, a deaf child. Let's see if we can get the child into that school. We go into this other one. There's a couple trying to living together, not married in church. Can we do something about that? Another one, this is a possibility to become a communion minister. Can this person be trained to be a communion minister? This one, a lector. These kids, what can we do with all these children here? No schooling, things like that. And that was the task for the catechist, and he had to follow up. And we could see the improvement as the time went by. But the priest had to go out. The priest had to go out and to be in the homes, then to get our hands inside all that mess, right? And then I think, then we bring the good news of Jesus Christ. And so these are the two. I find the two aspects that it has just come to my mind now. I never thought about it, Father Clarence, until now. But these are the two aspects that I think we could learn from each other. Yeah.
Father Francis, before we end, how can our viewers, those watching, if they want to support your work, support your community, how can they help?
Okay. I will be around in Malaysia for some time, because I wait for my visa to return to the Philippines. Please God, it comes soon. In the meantime, I'll be doing some medical things. But I will leave. I'm not sure I can leave my email address, perhaps, and my number if someone is interested to contact me. That's possible. And even with, I don't know, maybe with Father Clarence, okay, whichever way we can do that, right? And it's very possible. Yes, certainly. Yeah,
Okay.
we have friends who have been helping us for long, and they also know the different ways to do it. But thank you for that suggestion.
Sure. Father Clarence, anything before we end? Anything you would like to ask Father Francis?
No, just to thank. I think my earlier conversation with you, as far as you know, and as far as I know, you're probably the only Malaysian priest serving in Africa. I don't know of anybody. Do you know of anybody?
I don't know.
I may be completely wrong, but there may be. If there is someone out there, I truly apologize for my ignorance. But it's been a pleasure to have met you. It's so nice to be able to know that as much as we still have needs in Malaysia to serve the Malaysian church, that there are people like you who think even wider of a universal church to serve, and hopefully that inspires other people also to want to take on mission. And not just to think of our own backyard, but we always seem to think that when you talk about missionaries, we think of serving our own, because we think we don't have enough. We will never have enough. Whether it's Africa or whether it's in Malaysia. But if we don't start thinking, in a wider church to serve a wider church, then we'll always remain as a kind of an insular church. So thank you very much, Father Francis, for carrying our flag in Africa, and I'm sure that God will bless you, and hopefully this conversation inspires some of our young people who will be able to get your email address to write to you through Catholics at Home, and to see maybe an experience to teach English, and maybe that experience to teach English may become an experience of being a priest or a religious. Who knows? God calls him.
So.
Thank you very much, Fr Francis.
Thank you, Father Clarence. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you all for this fantastic work that you do to bring the good news of Jesus Christ into the homes of people. I think it's fantastic, really good. Right?
Thank you, Father Francis. Certainly, your story is certainly inspiring to me, and I'm sure to many others as well. So, Father Clarence, shall we?
Kevin.
I'll try. I quite like the African culture. In fact, I do have an African name because I do have a friend from Ghana, and one day I asked her to give me a name, and she asked me, what day was I born? I don't know if that's sort of a culture in where you are in Africa, because they name their children based on the days that they are born. So I think in Ghana, there's the Akan culture, and I told her, I checked out the calendar, and I Googled it was Tuesday, and she gave me the name. My name is Komla. So if there's any African friends viewing this right now, well, you can just call me Kachang Komla. Komla is my African name, and I certainly do hope to come to Africa, and maybe one day we can join you in your mission in Kenya. Thank you for joining us on our show today. Father Clarence, shall we end with a prayer?
So perhaps we invite Father Francis today to say a prayer for us.
Sure.
All right. Maybe a concluding prayer, Father Francis, for all of us.
All right. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Let us pray. Almighty Father, we ask for your blessing on all those who strive to bring your good news to the world. We pray that you continue to touch us and open our hearts, especially to those who are in need. There are many who are in need around us. Help us to be sensitive to see. Help us to be free to do good always in our lives. We ask all this through Christ our Lord.
Amen.
Amen.
In the name of the Father, and the Son,
Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Once again, thank you, Father Francis. Thank you, Father Clarence, for this conversation today. Certainly inspiring. And thank you for watching Catholics at Home. Don't forget to join us next week for a live show. And also, don't forget to join us for Jamming with Jesus. That's our praise and worship session every Friday at 9:30. And we usually have new groups coming on to perform their music to praise Jesus. So don't forget to join us then every Friday. And of course, for Saturday live show on Saturdays. Till then, from Father Francis, Father Clarence, and myself, wish you a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.